Hello and welcome to the Secret Society of Man podcast. My name is Zach. I'm here with my cousin Ryan. So today we're talking about Logan Paul. He is in the news once again because his lawsuits are coming to a head. He started a few years back now a crypto project called CryptoZoo, and this was supposed to be revolutionary. He started talking about it on his podcast, Impulsive. It was not only supposed to be just a crypto coin project, but it was also supposed to be a game. It's a genre of game called pay to earn. You know, if you're a gamer, you'll know that some games are free to play, some games are pay to play, and in this case, it's pay to earn. So you can invest money in these sort of crypto coin, like NFT sort of things. In this case, they were eggs in the video game, and you'd pay money for those up front. But then as you hatch the eggs in the game, they become these creatures, and you can battle them and collect them, kind of like Pokemon. And then you would earn money through doing that. You know, your whatever one you hatch might be worth more. You could trade it with other players and make money on your investment while playing a game, right? Seems like a pretty cool idea. So people started buying into this. So him and his buddies all sort of conspired to essentially do what ended up being like a pump and dump scheme. So if you think back to like Jordan Belfort, this is what he did with stocks, where he would pitch these stocks to people after he himself bought into it at a low price, get the value up really high, and then sell at its height and screw over everybody that bought on the way up. Well, that's what these guys conspired to do. So after investigations, there is text messages and conversations between him and his den of thieves where they were talking about buying up shares. What they did was they would go round robin style, buying up shares of this crypto coin. They soft launched it in like a secret way where they made it seem like it hadn't started yet, but really they did launch the coin and only they knew about it. So they all bought it at the ground floor. And then later on, they opened it up to the public after they already bought at the cheapest price. And they had rules on here's when we're going to sell when it's at, this market cap, then we can all sell this much. And, they wanted to sell it after it was pumped up.
That actually sounded like pretty cool, like something I would actually try and
consider. Yeah, it seems like a nice idea.
Well, yeah, because it's kind of like, like you said, it's kind of like Pokemon. It's essentially like a trading card game where, like, even to this day, if you have a rare card, like, you could sell that for a bunch of money, right? Like, it's kind of the same thing. So I thought that was pretty interesting. What kind of caught me here, though, was it doesn't surprise me. It's the same concept. Like I heard he's had issues with Prime, his Prime drink. It's starting to have like issues, or they're claiming it's a sports drink or something, and it's not that good. The other thing that I heard that they're having issues with is he like opened a line up with Mr. Beast. Like they have some food.
The lunch league?
Yeah, do you see that?
Yes.
So apparently like the nutrition is absolutely horrendous in there. Like they're promoting it as healthy and like for kids, like Lunchables, but it's like not healthy at all. So it doesn't surprise me when I read this story that I'm like, yeah, I mean, the guy's been seemingly skirting the law, or like the edge of the law for quite some time now. So it didn't surprise me.
And it's we can probably talk a lot about this crypto, throughout this episode and how much weird stuff goes on with that. But, this is just a classic example of these influencers taking advantage of this like crypto craze, and that paired with their influence. This is a really weird time right now where you can make a lot of money just by people following you. It used to be all about celebrity endorsements, where you would watch TV and it would be The Rock advertising some toothpaste, right? Just because they got paid to do so.
Right.
And that was the most effective marketing at the time because there was some sort of social trust there. Like you trust The Rock, you like him. And so if he endorses that toothpaste, well, he's not going to endorse something that he doesn't actually use, right? Now, after a while, people started to be less affected by that because they kind of caught on. But then now you had these influencers where it could be somebody that's as huge as Logan Paul, or it could be something as small as like a niche where, a lot of, moms, for instance, they will watch TikTok content and there'll be like somebody whose channel is all about being a mom and it seems very relatable and they really go to this person for advice. And so if they have a sponsorship deal where they tell people, they just make a simple video saying, oh, here's the kind of formula that I use. Well, now people are going to use that formula just because they trust that person. It's a little bit more covert than like the direct sponsorships through celebrities in like traditional media. So then you have these examples where like Logan Paul has such a massive following. He has a group of people that also have a following, and they sort of have like a cartel at the highest level here. In this case, he connected with some people he already knew, but then some other people in that space. So one of the people involved here who he got to lead the project, his name is Eddie Ibanez. And so his job was to basically lead the developers, pay these people, and make the project happen. Because Logan Paul doesn't know how any of this stuff works. But sure. Eddie Ibanez has an interesting story. So he was an orphan growing up, but he was really smart. So in high school, he hacked AOL, like the AOL servers, and then he went on to work for the Department of Defense and the NFL. When he was working for the yeah, it's crazy, bro. He was working for the NFL, and he basically developed like a system to help them to pick players, like Moneyball style. Okay. Right. And I don't know exactly how that worked, but it was just like this super impressive resume. Then went on to work for the CIA as well. And then also none of that is true. It's all a lie.
I was like, what? I'm like, who is this guy?
But that's how he got into this that's the story he would tell people. And I think he even told his wife that story. And but obviously she found out eventually that he's not an orphan whenever she met his mom, right?
Yeah.
And his mom's in his life and everything. So that entire backstory is 100% a lie. False. People have gone to try to they talked to the NFL and the spokespeople for these teams have said we've never worked with this guy. But sometimes people can be so charismatic that they can just like personality their way into these insane positions by making up these stories, right?
Almost like Kamala.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just make up an entire backstory.
I worked at McDonald's. No, you didn't. Trump's like, you never did. Okay, anyway, so go ahead.
So that's the guy that was leading the project. Another interesting character, his name is the Crypto King. And you mentioned how this whole thing is similar to like the Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
Because like a few years back, like it was really popular for all these influencers to buy Pokemon card packs. And that was like playing on the nostalgia that people had back when they collected Pokemon cards. And so just like, Pokemon cards are intrinsically worthless, right? Yeah. They're just stupid cards. Yep. Like nobody really plays the game. But you were able to make money on Pokemon cards for a short time because these influencers they just decided this is the cool thing. And because they all collectively decided that in a way that pumped up the value of these Pokemon cards. And just by the sheer force of their influence. And the guy that would supply Logan Paul with his Pokemon packs and his cards and like help him to appraise these cards, his name was the collectibles guru. Well, he rebranded himself as the Crypto King in this scenario.
Oh, okay.
Well, you have all these shady people.
And that's the Eddie guy.
No, it's a different guy.
Different guy.
Yeah, so this is like a whole cast of characters. King. Gotcha. Yeah, you got Logan, Crypto King, Eddie Ibanez.
Yeah.
And so these guys are all conspiring on this pump and dump scheme. So they said, we're gonna buy a certain amount of stock shares each, and then we're gonna sell at this amount. Well, of course, they starting to like backstab each other. So like the Crypto King bought more than was agreed upon, and then Logan Paul was like in these conversations like, well, how is there so much sold already? Like somebody knows about this. Like what's going on? And then the Crypto King ended up selling before they were supposed to sell. So Crypto King made $6 million off of selling his stock. Okay,
unbelievable.
And technically, what he did was legal because. Yeah, right. I mean, he bought it on the open market, technically, and he sold it on the open market. But Logan Paul was the one that was trying to do something illegal by coordinating when they're all going to sell. That's market manipulation. Mm-hmm. And so Crypto King openly is admitting that because what he's doing, he didn't conspire. He went against that and, he kind of utilized capitalism to make his money. Logan Paul ended up not selling his shares, apparently, but he made a lot of money because while all of this was going on, these people were figuring out when to sell their coin. regular people, the fans, were buying the eggs. Okay, so they would invest money before this project even came out, and they would, they bought however many eggs. Some people invested $30,000 in eggs, right? Someone lost $500,000 on this, right? Just buying these eggs.
That's wild, dude.
And there's some video games out there, like legit video games. One is called I think it's Star Citizen, right? Do you know what that is?
No.
It's like a space simulator game that has been in development since I've been in junior high. Okay, it's like been forever.
They just can't pull the trigger.
Well, they just so it's one of these crowd-funded games.
Okay.
So there was this big movement against AAA games where these indie developers would get the money from their fans. People would donate to these games before they even came out in the hopes they can make something that's not corrupted by the AAA investors and things like that. It's for the fans, by the fans. Well, in these games, what they'll do is they'll give you rewards for investing money into these games. So in this case, if you donated, $1,000, you would get a certain ship when the game came out, right? So they would sell these ships before the game ever came out. The game is still not out, right? And so it's this big thing, like, were they scammed? Is this illegal?
Sounds like a swindle to me, dude.
It is, essentially. And there's been a lot of examples of big games like this that have just taken tons of money and ran. Well, this is sort of similar. People are buying these eggs before the game ever comes out, and then this whole CryptoZoo thing never came to fruition. I think people were able to log in, but the eggs never hatched. You can't cash out and get your money back. There's no way to do it. And after that, Logan Paul pretty much went silent, but he would still hint at on his podcast, oh, we have something coming that's big. I have a big announcement coming, and through those types of hints, people would think well, he must be talking about CryptoZoo. That, it was right around the corner. They kept promising, we're going to market this, guys. It's about to be marketed, and then it's all going to come to fruition. And then stringing people along. And so they, were just waiting and waiting for things to finally come to fruition, and they just never did. And he finally announced his big project, and it was something completely different than CryptoZoo, right? He's like, no, not that thing. I'm on to something else. And it left all the fans holding the bag. Yeah. And so even though he never cashed out on his pump and dump scheme, just from the initial sales of the eggs alone, he still made, millions of dollars. And it's just, and he's so far, I don't think really been held accountable. I mean, he's been investigated. Do you know CoffeeZilla on YouTube?
Yes.
So he's one of the number one guys that did this investigation, and I would recommend watching his 4-part series on this, because he goes deep. He talks to some of these people, and of course Logan Paul doesn't want to comment, but there's some people in his group that are kind of leaky, and they'll talk to him and give some inside details, and it's all on the blockchain, which is interesting about crypto. Is to some level, all this stuff is public because you can see where all the transactions are going.
Yes.
It doesn't say Logan Paul on there, but you can use your information and context clues to figure out where that money's coming from. And this is just one example of all these crazy scams that are going on right now in crypto.
Crypto to me has always been weird, just because it's such an intangible currency. Remember when Dogecoin was there was that little hype there for a month or two. People were you got to invest in Dogecoin, you got to do it. It's going up, and the thing is you buy Dogecoin at 0.00001, and if it even gets to 0.00125, if you bought hundreds and hundreds of coins, you've now gained thousands of dollars.
Yeah, it's like penny stocks to the max.
I keep telling my wife this all the time. Can you imagine if we just stupidly just invested a ton of our money in Bitcoin before it blew up, and then the next morning we wake up and we have millions of dollars sitting in our account, just because it just blew up, And I think there's always that loose grasp of dreaming of this is the next coin, this is the next Bitcoin, and so people put a bunch of shit in there. And it kind of reminds me of, have you seen the movie Short Squeeze? Or Dumb Money?
No.
Okay, so it's about the GameStop
okay.
stock.
Yeah.
Okay, so this guy is a short squeeze investor. So do you know what short squeeze means?
Well, I know I know the whole story.
Yeah, so essentially, for those that don't know, short squeeze is you essentially try and get a bunch of people to invest in a stock that's dying, And basically what it does is it's about like F the man, F the government, because people like big wigs, like we're talking like massive owners of massive companies, bank on other companies dying, and they get money from that. So essentially in this movie, highly recommend you watch it. It's on Netflix. Essentially what happened was the guy is like, screw these guys, screw these investors that are banking on GameStop to die. So he got all of his following to put into GameStop, and like these owners of these companies lost billions of dollars, like daily. They were losing billions of dollars. And people, unfortunately, started like selling their stock because they saw that their $100 investment turned into like $200,000. And they're like, yeah, that like I want to withdraw on that. Which Robinhood came into that, and they got screwed because Robinhood's like, we can't afford, like we can't pay this out now because a bunch of people were withdrawing all this cash. And
I tried to get in on it, but then Robinhood wouldn't let you buy that stock.
Yes, they put a lock on it.
Which is like unheard of. And
Correct.
that was a huge scandal as well.
That was a huge deal. Yeah. So all that stuff, like I was reading in this article that you had sent me, that there's like this thing, the emoji coins or something like that. Like, I don't remember the exact name of them, but it sounds like, or meme coins.
Yeah.
So they come up with these like meme coins, and then they're so volatile that they'll spike real high, but then they'll just die.
Yes.
And so it's...
And there's thousands of them.
Thousands.
And like even Jake Paul, Logan Paul's brother,
Yep.
He had one of them as well. And so like they're not new to the crypto scam game, but like what it was before CryptoZoo was Dink Doink. And
What? Dude, I can't imagine telling Carly, yeah, we invested in Dink Doink. She'd be like, what? You know?
I wouldn't even want to tell people. If I became rich on Dink Doink, I wouldn't even want to tell people. Like,
no, yeah, right, yeah.
I would have to make up a story of how I got rich. So, like, and the whole thing with Dink Doink was literally they just came up with an idea. They're probably smoking weed.
For sure, dude.
And they're all in a room, and they're like, I bet we could come up with a coin. It's called Dink Doink. They made a little character for it, and that was it. That is all it was. And there's a interview where Jake Paul is trying to market this, and the guy asked him, like, so, there's thousands of coins out there. Like, what makes yours different than the rest? And he was just stalling for an answer. He's like, wow, I'm glad you asked that question. That's a really important question. Yeah. I've never been asked that question before, right. But that's really what it's all about, isn't it? Like, that's a great question. And it's like, dude, so answer it.
I'd be like, Jake, I grew up in a middle-class family.
Yeah, the same vibes.
The same vibes, dude. Yeah, it's wild, man. Like, kind of dipping in on, like, the police side, because we're talking about, like, repercussions for Logan here. We deal with crypto scams all the time. I was at the gas station working one time. I was just getting, like, an energy drink. And the lady at the cash register is like, hey, those, like, they have, like, Bitcoin ATMs, right? Which anywhere those are, it's something criminals happening, just saying. Like, not saying, like, every transaction, but criminals know how to get through there. So here's what happens. So she's like, hey, this old guy has been back there for, like, 20 minutes on the phone with someone. And he's, like, at least 70, okay? So I go back there. He's one of our locals. I've talked to him before. Nice guy. And I said, hey, can I see the phone real quick? And so I hand the phone over, and he called himself, like, Adam Smith.
Okay, yeah.
And he was not an Adam Smith.
Did he sound white?
I'm not going down that road.
Okay.
He was not Adam Smith. And so he's like, who's this? I'm like, I'm a cop. And then he hung up the phone. And so I looked at...
Short for Adam Jeet.
Yeah. We'll just call him John. His name's not John, but we'll call the old guy John. So I looked at John, and I'm like, did you put any money in that machine? And he said, yeah. I said, how much? He's like, 700. Okay. Do you have, like, were you going to put more? He's like, yeah, I got 1,100 to go. Okay, don't put in 1,100. So here's what happened. Guy calls him and says, hey, I'm part of a timeshare company. Do you have a timeshare? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, well, do you want to get out of that timeshare? He's like, of course I do. He's like, I've had it for too long. They keep charging me and whatever, right? So he's like, perfect. What I need you to do is I need you to go to the bank and take $2,000 of cash out of the ATM. And then I need you to go to this Bitcoin machine at a fucking gas station. None of this sounds fucking normal, but so I'll get to that in a second. He goes to the gas station talking to this guy. The guy texts him a QR code, which is his crypto wallet, because the machine scans the QR code and it opens the scammer's crypto wallet. Mm. The guy deposits the cash and it goes straight into the crypto wallet, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
You'll like never find them again. Because like you kind of alluded to, like scammers are very good. So like when you go to crypto wallets, think of it like, I like to think of it like a family tree. So like the crypto wallet will be up here, but then it can put money in other wallets all down this web, and you'll never find it.
It's just scattered everywhere.
Never find it because correct, because you'll never find it. You might find the original wallet, but by the time we even get there, it's way down here. You'll never find it. So they're almost impossible to get. So anything with crypto freaks me out. I don't like to like invest in it. I'm old school like that. I guess I just find it weird that like what is it? Like it's like the equivalent of like old people want to buy gold all the time. It's like,
well, it's actually the opposite of that. So it was interestingly enough. So like people want to buy gold because they don't like how money nowadays, like even just regular money, is not based on anything, because the gold standard, right?
Yeah.
It used to be that you could literally exchange money for gold. It was a direct exchange rate, and that sort of the gold was like a rock that tied all the other currencies together. But then at some point we got rid of that, and so now it's basically all based on like debt. It's all like just numbers in a system, and it's not based on anything like tangible. So people don't like that, so they invest in gold because gold has always been valuable all across time. And there's something about humans where we like gold and precious metals. And so they feel like their money is safer there because even if the system collapses and we go into a Mad Max sort of thing or a water world, right?
Fury Road, bro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're still going to value gold, right, on some level.
Sure.
So that's why they like that. But cryptocurrency is the exact opposite. So what's interesting is there's a lot of people that are cryptocurrency advocates, and they'll give you all sorts of reason why cryptocurrency is great. It decentralizes things, and if you get into NFTs, they say that it's a great way to certify art in the digital world and like protect your art and your ownership of these art assets in a world where without NFTs, you can just download it and there's really no claim to ownership. There's all sorts of crazy applications for like NFTs in like real estate and things like that. Like, it's something where people will come up, they think NFT is a solution to any problem that you can possibly think of. But like, if you look at Bitcoin, it's not really, it's supposed to be a currency, and it's supposed to be like one day enough people will adopt it that it's going to be the regular currency. But nobody that has ever bought Bitcoin has bought it with the intention to use it to exchange for a good or a service.
Right.
Like the only reason anybody ever buys Bitcoin is in order to sell it for more money down the line. Like you can buy pesos when you go to Mexico, and you'll actually use that money to buy something when you're on vacation.
Correct.
You'll exchange money and you'll use it as a currency. Nobody uses Bitcoin as a currency unless it's just like you do it for fun. Like some Pizza Hut might let you buy pizza for Ethereum or whatever, just as a marketing tactic to seem hip. But beyond that, no one's really using it. One Bitcoin is worth $95,000.
That's what I mean.
What kind of currency is that? It makes the U.S. dollar look like a Venezuelan bolivar.
Bro. That's what I'm saying, though. Like, when they're like, do you want to buy Bitcoin? It's like, yeah, I'm buying like 200th of a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't...
Try to describe how much something costs in Bitcoin. Like,
right.
It's impossible to, like, figure out... Like, if you're trying to buy a pizza with Bitcoin, like, they could say, oh, this pizza is worth, 0.00065 Bitcoins. Like,
right.
Like, that's not a good way to measure value of things.
No.
And so it's useless, right?
Can you imagine if I went to, like, a real estate thing, and the house is like 400,000. I lay 5 Bitcoins down. I'm like, there you go, my house. Like, they look at these like 5 Bitcoins and be like, what the hell is this? You know what I mean? That's another thing that's weird to me is it's all electronic. Like, it's strange. Like, I like having something tangible. I like having like cash in my hand or like a debit card. I know they're coming out with like actual crypto cards now that you can use to like exchange cash out of these Bitcoin ATMs or whatever it is. But it freaks me out, man. I just feel like it's so weird, like people exchanging it on I don't know. Like,
well, it gets weird when you get outside of Bitcoin, you go to all these other coins. Because like you said earlier, like to a lot of people, cryptocurrency is their last ditch effort to become rich in their life.
Yeah.
So I was trying to find accounts of victims of things like CryptoZoo or any other, pump and dump scheme. Because like I said, there's literally thousands of these meme coins, shit coins that they literally only exist to gain hype and then cash out on that hype. I mean, it's literally a Ponzi scheme, okay?
Yes.
Like that's all it is. There's nothing
Yes.
more than that. And so it is too easy to make a coin, it seems, like, because you can't just make a currency, and you can't
Correct.
just like make a publicly traded stock. Like if something is on the stock market, that automatically means there's some level of legitimacy to that company. It has
Correct.
some reasonable chance of making it, but like, because it's a company, there's people behind it, and there's a product or a service that you can research, and it might make it big one day. Any influencer can make a coin, and there's nothing behind it other than the hype. Right?
That's it.
And you just got to get in earlier than the next guy, and that is like the definition of a Ponzi scheme. But a lot of these people that fall for this stuff are terminally online people. They just don't have much of a social life. They're always playing video games. All their social communities is online. And so they're just listening to podcasts all day, listening to influencers, and in a lot of cases, like most of their interaction is with these streamers or influencers. And just because they, again, trust in these people, it's that very powerful marketing tactic of social proof that they will go along with whatever these people say. And they're left giving these people $30,000 because they're like, well, it's Logan Paul. Like, I've listened to him all the time. I know I've listened to this guy talk for more hours than I've heard anybody else in my life talk, right? And so people fall victim to that. But what you got to realize, though, is if they don't know anything about these coins, really. Like, they're just going off this person's word. And if you are looking at an investment decision, whether that is something to invest your money in potentially, or invest your time in, or, invest your vote in for a presidential candidate, if the only thing that you know about what you're going to invest in is that a celebrity or an influencer is interested in that, and that's all you have to go off of, you have to do more research. Like,
Yes,
it's just like with all these Kamala Harris celebrity endorsements. Like, people didn't know a lot about her, but they were just banking on, well, I hope that people know enough about Taylor Swift to accept her endorsement in place of any sort of like policy, right? And it's the same thing with all these crypto scams. Well, I don't need to do research because Logan Paul, he's going to put the right guys on this project and he's going to make this happen. Well, then you end up getting screwed. And people just fall victim to it time and time again. And it's not too much different than the guy you talked about in the gas station, where he's fallen victim to it. It's something that he really doesn't understand. In this case, he's not falling victim to an influencer, but he's falling victim to a salesperson who figured out how to influence his brain because, they have the script of the timeshare. That's how you get that boomer generation, because they hate their timeshares. Well, it's the same exact thing. It just has a different face.
Yeah.
And a different accent.
Yeah. And speaking of like the celebrities, I saw in that thing you sent me, the news article. Excuse me. It said, in the news article, it said, I brought up Kim Kardashian. So she was fined $1.26 million for promoting a coin, and it was Ethereum.
Okay.
So she actually got fined for it because it had something to do with her promotion. Like, she can't promote a coin or something like that. It didn't really explain well why she got fined for it. But that's part of the reason why Logan got in trouble, right? It's because he was promoting things that he didn't tell the public about for his own pocket, right? So like essentially like if I come up with a new cleaning product and I'm like, hey, here, use this. Like I've used it before, it's fantastic. But I don't tell you that I own that company and I want you to use it. I feel like there's like some weird rules around that. Like as far as
it's just like
goes.
how, like on YouTube, if we were promoted or if we were like sponsored by some product and we promoted it, like we have to, when I upload a video to YouTube, it asks me, is there any paid promotions? Like you have to be transparent about these promotions. And that way people know that it's not necessarily your genuine opinion.
Sure.
I mean, you're being paid to say these things. So it's the same thing with these crypto currencies and like NFTs. Justin Bieber did something similar where he posted, the Bored Ape, you know what that is?
Yep.
So it's just like the classic NFT image of the ape, right? Well, he posted one of those on his Instagram. Yes. And it was worth like $1.5 million. Or it was, what's funny is you can say it's worth that much, but someone paid that much, right? And people, I guess, assume that, Justin Bieber is the one that bought it and he's just posting it on his Instagram. But if you look at the blockchain and you look at the wallets, it actually wasn't Justin Bieber's NFT. Somebody had bought it and then paid Justin Bieber some money to post it on Instagram. And so people thought that it was Justin Bieber. Now that his name is linked with that NFT, now its value went way up, and then that person sold it. So he invested, let's say $1.5 million and then 900 Ethereum, and then he probably doubled his money because now the NFT is worth twice as much. And it's all worthless, and it's entirely just profiting off of these influencers' names. I mean, that's it. I was thinking about how to benefit off of like the influence of other people, and like I actually have an example of how this can work at a smaller scale. So it doesn't need to just be like if you're ultra famous. Like you can actually apply the same sort of logic when you are like a smaller, more regular person. But I am on a real estate team, and there was this guy, his name is Tony Callan. And he would have this business where he would like take videos of realtors. So if I have a listing and I want it to be like, more professionally marketed, not only can I take pictures of the house, but I can have him meet me at the house. He'll take a video of me standing in front of it talking about the listing. I'll be in a suit. I look like I'm successful. Then he'll fly a drone through the house and everything. And it's just like a good, well-produced video to promote the listing and promote you as an agent, showing like, hey, I'm high quality. I have high quality marketing. So he built up great relationships with all sorts of realtors in the real estate space through that business. I'm sure it was, pretty difficult to build that business up. Anybody that's trying to build up a business knows that it's the biggest challenge is, getting people to work with you. But after a while, he was successful on that, and he was now liked and trusted because he had that success and he delivered on that in the past. So now the next business that he launched was exponentially easier to grow because he already had that influence with people in the business. After a while, he would talk to a lot of realtors, and every year realtors like to do business planning because they pretend like they're going to, really hit the ground running this year and break new ground. Every single realtor says that they're going to be better at social media this year, and every single realtor fails. Okay, they don't put in the effort to make the videos. They don't keep a consistent schedule of uploading content because they're just too lazy to do it, right? Or they don't know how the technology works. They don't know how to edit videos, and they just don't want to take the time to learn it. So his business was he's going to offer to edit people's videos so a realtor can take, a 20-minute video or a 10-minute long-form video, send it to him. He'll cut it up and do a bunch of short-term videos so they can post videos throughout the month. And he did one launch event, invited all of his current customers from his first business. Immediately, they were all customers of his second business. Like, he didn't have to do any work. Right. He just held one meeting and then immediately successful business, right? And so that's the power of, even at a small scale, when you're not famous, being able to utilize the influence. Now, when you have millions and millions of followers, like, it almost doesn't matter. Even if you are, you can destroy your reputation time and time again. Like, you don't. I don't need to tell you. Logan Paul and Jake Paul have countless controversies.
Which, speaking of that, sorry to cut you off. Yeah. I saw a lot of people have been pushing Jake Paul on like the scripted fight or whatever with Tyson. Like they swear it was
they think
scripted.
it was like like they knew exactly how it would end up.
Yeah,
it was fixed.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway,
well, that's like, I mean, and even him, Jake Paul. I mean, he has countless like controversies, but it doesn't matter because they're so big that there's always going to be a certain amount of people that just ignore that. And then they can launch after CryptoZoo. If that doesn't work out or they cash out on that scam, they can now think of something completely different. Now they can do Dink Doink. And it's just like it'll work every single time just because they have that influence. It's just such a powerful principle in business. And it's amazing how people can fall victim to that time and time again. We had talked before this about like Mr. Beast, right?
Yep.
He's also going through it. He was always seen as like a wholesome guy. We talked a little bit about him before, but like talk about his controversy with Logan Paul.
Yeah. Like
talk about
sorry.
it.
Yeah, sorry. So the Logan Paul, what's it called again? Lunchly. So, it's my understanding that I guess it makes sense, right? Cuz Mr. Beast and Logan are obviously very highly known. Some, I would say, before Mr. Beast started getting into other trouble, I would say he definitely had a better profile than Logan Paul as far as like wholesomeness, like you said.
Yeah.
But Mr. Beast essentially reached out to Logan to do a Lunchly ad or a Lunchly sponsorship of Mr. Beast creating this food line, this food product for kids, essentially. Now, do you know who KSI is?
Yeah, rapper, boxer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They all box now, dude. It's like Disney Channel with singers, dude. They all fucking sing. Like, anyway, so I saw a video. I was scrolling through YouTube Shorts, and all of a sudden I just see this video where they're just running down the road and they're holding the Lunchly, and it's all three of them. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure KSI is like has some money in it, but so basically they're starting to get into hot water now because the people started looking into like the nutrition of it, and they're like, this should not be like marketed towards kids. The problem that I have with that though, and we've talked about this before, parents need to look into that shit. Like, do you give your kid McDonald's 4 times a day? Because if you do, it ain't the kid's fault. You're the one buying it. You know what I mean? So do your research. Like, don't just assume that, like you said, you see this big name and you just assume that, oh, it's great. You know what I mean? How many people do you think eat a Gordon Ramsay burger that I could make the same burger? I could cook right next to him. He could tell me exactly how to do it. People would think my burger tasted like shit compared to his because he's Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, you didn't make it. And I have a Gordon Ramsay cookbook that Christy bought me one year.
Okay.
And I've made a lot of things out of it. And he has a couple of videos on YouTube, like making some of the recipes or whatever. So I'm sure he knows how to make them. But I guarantee you he didn't write those recipes.
Probably not.
But it says Gordon Ramsay on them. So I feel like Gordon Ramsay when I make it.
It's the name, dude.
Yeah.
It's the name. So they're starting to get in some hot water with that. I don't know how far it'll go because they'll play that game of, well, it has some nutritional value. Like, there's meat in there. Like, Lunchables aren't the greatest for you either, but kids fucking eat that, so.
Well, it's that also touches on, like, how marketing to children is very powerful as well. Because, I mean, I think in the next couple of years with RFK Jr. in the spot of whatever his title is now, but he's sort of going to be in charge of the FDA or whatever, right? So he's going to be going big on like what is in our food, like all this processed food and the dyes that we allow that other countries don't allow. I'm already starting to see a lot more of that from just regular people like on my Facebook, right? So I think that's going to be under a lot more speculation here, or I guess, what's the word, like scrutiny in the future.
Yes.
But we've been able to get away with all that stuff, like cereal, like back in the day. They would talk about Cocoa Pebbles being like the cornerstone of any nutritious breakfast, right? That was the line. And it's like all this stuff is so sugary, it's terrible for kids.
For sure.
But parents never batted an eye because it's marketed towards children, so like they assume that it would be healthy. And with this Lunchly thing, they're not marketing towards adults, they're just marketing towards the children, and the kids are going to ask their parents for it, and they're just going to say, oh, hey, whatever. And they just assume that it's going to be healthy. And when it comes to to Lunchly, like, yeah, it's not that healthy, and it went under some scrutiny and some controversy, but again, it's going to pass. And Mr. Beast is so big that if they just ride the storm, then it's going to be good. They're still going to get sales. It doesn't matter how many allegations come out against him and his crew and all that stuff we talked about in the past, because the parents aren't going to hear about that. The kids aren't smart enough to like really look into it. The only people that are outraged about it are people that weren't going to buy his product anyways. And so he's just too big to fail.
Correct. Yeah, and there is something to say about that. Like, people always point to Trump's failures. They're like, well, look how many businesses he's had to declare bankruptcy on. It's like, yeah, but look at how much he's still worth. Like, you can't take the guy down. Like, as far as financially goes, the guy is an endless well of money. Like, there is no, like, he could sell his Trump Tower and be set. Like, his great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren would be set from selling that place.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is no, like, touching him. Now, with the cryptocurrency stuff, I did come across an ad that I thought was kind of interesting. Just stocks in general. There is an app out there, and it's the name of it is fleeting me. I'll try and find it. But essentially, you can invest in what famous people are investing in. So there's these people that set up their account to invest in everything Nancy Pelosi's investing in. Because did you hear about the big issue like during COVID with Nancy Pelosi? You ever hear about that?
Wasn't there insider trading issues going on?
Insider trading issues, like all of a sudden she's now investing in ammunition and like shit, and then it just explodes, right? And she's like, oh, I didn't know, like, and then she's investing in like toilet paper and like all this other stuff that like she claims she didn't know about, but then she's millions of dollars like richer, right?
Yeah.
So there's this app now where you can actually like have it mirror what they invest. Now, obviously, you're not going to invest as much as they do as far as money-wise, but you'll still get the same percentage of gains on whatever you choose to do.
How do they verify that? Is it public what Nancy Pelosi is investing in?
It has to be, right? I'm guessing. I mean, she's a public figure, right? So, like, I mean, you can, like I said, you can look up my salary. Like, if you're a public figure, you should be able to look up that stuff. But
can I see what you're invested in? Like, I can't see your portfolio, your 401k.
I don't know. I bet you might be able to go in and look at like what my pension will be, because that's public info.
Maybe, but like, yeah, but then also, I mean, you got to think that these people are, I mean, they're investing through friends and family members. Like, I don't want to necessarily invest in what Nancy Pelosi is investing in, but I want to invest in what her brother is investing in, because like they're telling the family the real good secrets.
Right. Yeah.
And you know, that's probably how they make most of their money, is through the, like, if you've ever seen Wolf of Wall Street, like the rat holes, right?
The rat holes.
Where you get a friend to invest and then they just give you the money under the table. Yeah, it's the Wild West. And I think a part of why the stuff is so risky right now is because, like, it's hard for the government a lot to, like, to catch up with their legislation with some of these new technological things. Like, it took them a while to catch up to the internet. You know, like 10 years ago, it was a way different place. Nowadays, I mean, you can't... when you upload content to YouTube, you're navigating a minefield of copyright claims, right?
Oh, dude.
And it's like that never used to be the case.
We can't play our favorite song in here because we would get torn down.
Exactly, and especially if you're trying to make money on like your content and things, like it's all so well regulated now. But that wasn't the case, even 10, 20 years ago. Well, the same thing for like crypto right now. I think really what that needs, even though the whole point is to stay away from governments, like I feel like there needs to be somebody watching over this stuff. As much as you don't like and you don't trust governments, they do exist for a reason. When it's operating well, is to protect you from people that are just blatant scammers. Mm-hmm. And it's like every year there's a major cryptocurrency scam story out there. And so it's like, how can you invest in this stuff, especially after seeing how many scams there are? Investing in it early on before you knew how many scams there were is one thing, but like I just would never be able to trust it now.
Are you invested at all or no?
No. I mean, I invested a little bit during that GameStop time.
Okay.
I got wrapped up into it. But I invested maybe $300.
Okay.
And it consumed my life, right? I didn't do anything other than watch that ticker go up every set. I would just sit there on my phone watching it go up. There's no way that I could handle like being a day trader or anything like that.
Oh, yeah.
And then I lost some money and then I sold and I just got out of it, you know. But I never really got into the crypto because, again, I just don't understand it. And even though I don't understand regular stocks, the thing is that I can pretend like I understand regular stocks and pretend like I'm making an informed decision. I can read one news article and be like, hey, I've done my research.
I mean, that's better than some people. Like you said, some people just hear, well, if my favorite actor's doing it, it must be good, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I love Deadpool, but you don't see me going on Mint Mobile because Ryan Reynolds owns it. You know what I mean? Like, at some point, you got to do your research. Can you imagine if I'm sitting here and I get no coverage and I call Ryan Reynolds up and I'm like, what the hell, dude? Like, I got no coverage. He's like, well, yeah, we only cover like 10% of the country. It's like, well, then why the hell did I go in your company? Well, because of the name, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, you know.
And like,
go ahead.
I was going to say, and every celebrity now has alcohol, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like
dude.
Ryan Reynolds, I think it's him. He has a gin, and I was into gin for a little while. And I bought his gin, and I'm like, I like it. And it might just be because it had his picture on it. You
Dan
know?
Aykroyd, vodka.
Yep.
Like,
and then the Breaking Bad guys.
Yep.
Like Mescal.
It's just wild, dude. Like, and sometimes I'll admit, like, sometimes I'll fall for that. Like, we shop at Cub Foods, right? So, like, do I want to buy the Cub brand detergent or do I want to buy Tide? Well, I want to buy Tide, but I'm also paying like $12 more because of the name. It's probably the same thing or very close to it, does the same job. We had a revelation in my household, okay? We love chicken nuggets. Love them. Okay, who doesn't, right?
I'm not big on them, but yeah.
No?
No.
So we have an air fryer, right? So chicken nuggets and fries are like number one thing. So we always bought the Tyson brand, but they suck ass. I'm sorry, but like you know how when you eat chicken, you'll eat that little ball of fat?
Yeah.
That you're not going to swallow, right? It's just disgusting. You bite on it and you spit it out. Always that in those. So we bit the bullet and we're like, well, let's try the Cub brand because right next to the Tyson was Everyday Essential chicken nuggets. Dude, it was the best change we've ever had in our entire life.
Really?
Crispy as shit. It's like it just came out of the fryer and I'm like, okay. I'm like, so this is the time where a food giant got taken down by Cub Foods because they are by far way better. The flavor's better, like way better, dude.
Wow.
So
you're fighting the man.
Fighting the man, dude. Fighting the man. I mean, I'll say like Cub Foods, for those that live in Minnesota and listen to this, know that Cub Foods is getting more spendy, so we don't always shop there now. But when we want like our typical, the problem is it's the closest store to our house.
Right.
So we don't want to drive 15 miles to Costco. We want to drive 2 miles to Cub. You know what I mean? So there's that. But, you know, that's my thoughts on the product stuff.
I just wanted to say one thing is I was just trying to think of people that would fall victim to this type of thing. And I swear, if my dad gets one more divorce, he is going to spend all of my inheritance is going to go towards some romance scammer. Yeah. Like I could just see him like in his old age falling victim. Like I was watching
Tell
these.
Him to hang it up, dude.
You know, like a pig butchering scam is.
Okay, so I have heard of this. I won't go into details, but I know of a friend that had somebody in their family be victim to this. So, yes, go ahead and explain it. So,
well, it basically, I mean, everyone's got texts like this before where you'll get like a random text that says like, you know, oh, so good meeting you yesterday or whatever. And then you'll be like, oh, who's this? You know, you have the wrong number. And they'll be like, oh, you know, isn't this Jonathan? Like, he wants to give me the wrong number. What the heck? I'm so embarrassed. And then you'll get a text of like a half-naked Russian girl, right?
Yeah.
And then she'll be like, well, since we're talking anyways, you know, my name is like Vanessa and like blah, blah, blah. And some guys will literally be like, wow, this is fate. Like, fate has brought us together.
But explain why, for people that don't know, explain why it's called pig butchering.
Well, so what'll end up happening is not only is Vanessa hot, but also she's either a real estate guru or she's like a crypto investor. And so she'll put you on the platform. She's like, oh, yeah, I've just been making money on this platform. Then you'll go on the platform, you'll buy the crypto. Yep. And, I mean, it's just a fake website they put up that just puts the money right in their fucking bank account. And then so now you've been scammed, right? Then you find out you got scammed. You feel dumb. Now you're the pig. Then... Then you get a call from somebody, or like what happens a lot of times is like people will go on Reddit or whatever, and they'll be like, oh, I just got scammed. Well, now, because they're looking for advice from people on the internet, like, what do I do now? Well, now you get a message in your inbox, and it says, well, hey, listen, I'm actually a scam money recovery expert. And so what I do is I will go and I'll hack the people. I'll find them. I'll get into their system. I'll recover your money. But you just got to give me like 10% of the amount. So if you lost, $20,000, give me $2,000 here and we'll get your money back. So like, okay, thank God. Thank you so much, sir. This is exactly why I came to Reddit, so I could find a genius like you. So they'll pay this recovery expert money, and this person's also a scammer. Yeah. And so now they're even deeper into it. And sometimes what happens is people are so the human brain is weird, man. People are so unwilling to think that they get scammed sometimes. They'll just keep falling for it again and again and again. Like they want the pride of digging themselves out of it. And so they'll just keep digging themselves deeper and deeper down. And that's why it's a pig butchering scam, because the initial person's like feeding the pig, and then that scam recovery expert is like butchering the pig, basically. So
yeah, it's wild, man. It's wild. But what's crazy is like one scammer is another scammer's gain. Like if let's say that dude is actually legitimately doing that stuff to help the person, like that's an economy of itself, right? Like
well, he's not. It does not exist. There's no, I'm going to hack him. Like you said, you can't get the money back when it's gone. I mean, it's gone.
No, but what I'm saying is like, even then, like, economies happen that way for that reason. Like, people always benefit from a negative, right? So, like it sucks to say, but that's why police will always exist. Because people suck and will victimize other people, and you need somebody there because of a negative action. It's the same concept like LifeLock. You've heard of LifeLock?
No, what is that?
Okay, LifeLock, what you do, it's a legitimate business. They're on commercials all the time. Essentially, you pay them like $100 a month, and you send them all of your personal shit, and they put it in this database. And at any point, if it's accessed, they search everywhere, dark web, every single little nook and cranny. At any point, if your data's used or anything like that, they put a lock on it, and they do like 100% reimbursement for your shit if something's lost, up to a certain amount. But there's always an economy for something. You know what I mean? So it's interesting to see. And plus, like, you'd think Bitcoin is also used on the dark web, right? Like, I've heard of an actual murder story where this guy was going to pay this person to kill one of his family members, and they wanted Bitcoin for it. So,
well, they always said that like on the dark web you can hire hitman and stuff, and I've watched some videos, and some people think that that's not the case, but I guess it probably is. But do you know the case where there was a lady that was married to a guy, and she decided that she was going to get him killed with a hitman? So what she does is she hires a hitman on the dark web, goes to hitman.com, right?
Right, yeah.
And they schedule a meeting.
Okay.
And so she gets in the car, and she's like, I want to have my husband killed, I'll give you $10,000, and, how's this going to go down exactly? And he's like, well, how about you go to the gym, and then, then I'll get him then, and I'll make it look like a robbery, and then you can give me the money. So they have this whole conversation. Well, he was a cop. He was an undercover cop.
Oh, no, dude.
And this whole thing is recorded.
Oh, no.
So then this is an amazing move by the cop. So, the whole thing goes down as planned. She goes to the gym, and the cops go knock on the door, and they're like, hey, your wife put a hit out on you, but luckily, it was one of our guys. So you come with us. We're going to go take you out of the house or whatever. The cops set up a crime scene. Like, they put the tape out and everything like that. God. They get 5 squads parked outside. So she comes home from her jog or whatever, from her workout, to a crime scene. And so she thinks, like, it's showtime,
Yep.
And she puts on, like, expert crocodile tears. Like, she just breaks down crying. Like, what happened to my husband, And does a really good acting job. And they take her down to the station or whatever. They do a whole interrogation. She thinks that her husband is dead. And then they're like, yeah, and you know what? We found the guy that killed your husband. They bring in the cop that she had met with. And she's like, do you know this guy? And she's like, no, like, yeah, this is the suspect. We're pretty sure that he did it, And the guy's pretending to be. Right. They're like putting on this whole show. Like, they could have just arrested her. I don't know. Dude, like, low crime rate area for sure.
Dude, if I was a citizen, I'd be pissed. I'd be like, this is where my tax dollars are going? 5 fucking cops are sitting on a fake crime scene? Like, what the
whole
fuck?
Act. And then eventually the interrogator's like, okay, cut this shit. Like, it's all fake. You got caught.
Yeah.
And then what's crazy about some people, man, is they just, like, these manipulative people, they just don't drop the act. She ends up going to jail. And then she calls her husband. And she's like, you got to help me. Like, I'm stuck in here. Like, and he's like, no, I'm not going to help you.
Psycho?
Like, like, I saw the video. Like, of you trying to get me killed. And she just, like, was trying to manipulate him. He's like, no, I'm not going to do that. But that just reminded me of that because of the hitman thing. But, yeah, some people. And so do you know about what do they call it? The Silk Road on the dark web?
No.
So this was probably back in, like, around 2015-ish when this is kind of when I heard about the dark web. Like, there's the one kid at school that was into the dark web. Like, he never used Safari. He would just use Tor, which was the dark web browser, right?
Sure.
Because he just thought it was edgy. Well, on the dark web, there was a Silk Road, which was this marketplace where you could buy all sorts of drugs and things. And this is where people claim that you can go and hire hitmen and things like that. Well, the guy that ran it, it was all on the dark web, so it was all anonymous and through VPNs and things like that, so it couldn't be tracked. But it was this huge investigation, and they ended up tracking this guy down to a library, and they had agents all over the place, and they were just waiting for the right moment to snatch his laptop. They knew that if they weren't sneaky about it, he could probably press a button and just delete everything. But they got it away from him, ended up arresting him. But through the investigations, like him trying to cover up everything and like trying to get rid of some of these people that might leak to the FBI, part of the way that he was caught is he was like trying to hire hitmen from the dark web to go and take out these people, but they ended up being like fake hitmen, and then they would like pretend to have done the hit, and so they would go to the person and they would get they would stage like a fake body and things like that, and just I don't know if there's any record of an actual hitman, but there might be a lot of scammers out there that pretend to be hitmen on the dark web. So I'd be interested to know how widespread that actually is. But I don't know, man. It's all connected to the crypto thing. It's just like a weird Wild West space that just seems like fraught with danger to try to delve into it as a normal person. So
I feel like if Logan Paul ever made that CryptoZoo like a video game or something where you can still like make money, like a Farmville or something, I feel like some kid would go on there thinking it's like peaceful, and then when you say hi to like a character on there, and then next like their profile picture is a dude like holding a headless chick or something, or I'd be like, yeah, dude, this is Bitcoin. Like this is, you know what I mean? Like I think people just don't understand like the seriousness behind it, and like just the weird shit that comes with it. So
one last thing I wanted to talk about is so that CryptoZoo is not the only game of its kind. So there's another one, I believe, I should have wrote the name down. I think it's called like Axio Infinity. There's another one of these pay-to-earn games. Seemed in concept very similar to the CryptoZoo. It's like Pokemon or whatever, and you get to create animals and go and fight them and things like that. Well, what ended up happening was when people got it on the ground floor, it was super cheap. So you'd have to buy like 3 of these tokens or whatever in order to play the game. At first it was affordable, so people got in on it. And as the hype grew, it got more and more expensive. Well, now a lot of people, like, it was too expensive for them to to buy the 3 tokens to get in. They just couldn't afford it. And a lot of people were from like third world countries and things like that. So what would happen is the guys that did buy it at the cheap price, what they did now was instead of playing the game themselves, they would rent out their characters to other people to play. And so it was called scholarships. So like people from the Philippines or these like third world countries or less developed countries where you can't make a lot of money, this was actually a legitimate way to make money. They would pay these people to rent out their characters to play this game and make money on their characters. And it was like this weird thing where like in a way you try to go onto these crypto spaces as like a new frontier to get away from like the regular capitalism shit that goes on in real life. And then, something like this happens. The first thing that happens is people become landlords and rent out to people, the characters. Like you can't escape that cycle. No matter what space you're in. But it's just this weird like dystopian thing. Like people would literally play this video game because that was a legitimate means for them to make money. Meanwhile, the people that were renting out these characters, like they'd have like YouTube videos and he's like, yeah, I'm making $6,000 a month right now renting out, my tokens to these, people in the Philippines. And then after it hit a certain point where all Ponzi schemes do, where it's like it eventually loses steam. Now it's down 99% value from when it started, and like the player base is just lower and lower. But I don't know. It's just all very odd. But
awesome.
Nothing else to say about that. We're at an hour. Want to wrap it up?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. We will post this video by Wednesday. And if you made it this far, please like and subscribe. And next time, we're going to be doing another true crime podcast talking about JonBenet Ramsey and the documentary about her on Netflix. See you later.